Annyeong, it's Mikey here. We're coming back with another Holofix switch. I know it's been a while. I actually have been holding on to this for a bit. I just haven't had the time to do it. It's the Gateron Milky Yellow Holofix switches. We're gonna have to see what this sounds like because I actually like the Gateron Milky Yellow mechanical switches. We're gonna have to see, is this anything close to that, or even feel or sound close to that. So let's go straight into taking a look and doing the sound test and see what this is like. But please make sure to like and subscribe. Now introducing the Gateron X U-Cubes Snowy Yellow HE. So I got the Snowy Yellow version. Now the biggest question, right, is this going to be anything like the MX Switch Gateron Milky Yellow? Well, we're going to have to really go into it to really see how this sounds. But overall, it so far looks like it's very similar to the Jades. So what do I feel after doing all the sound tests and typing tests? And the fact is, this still feels very similar to the Jade series from Gateron. I'm sure you can really hear it there. There's a big top out sound that comes from these switches, and it's really, really heavy. Like, it's a strong top out sound that really came from like the old Jade series HE switches, and it still has that spring crunch that Gateron switches have, which really feels scratchy. Now going into the travel test, right? So we're looking at 3.5 millimeters is what they're saying. So 15.1 down to 11.7, which is 3.4 millimeters, and again, we're going to do one more time, which we also get 3.4. So it's supposed to be 3.5, but we're getting 3.4 in our measurements twice out of the 3 times that we did it. Also, keep in mind that even Gateron says it's plus minus 0.2 millimeters. Now, taking it apart to really take a look at it. So this is the top housing. It is a PC top, and it doesn't have a light diffuser. What does that mean? I think the lighting with this specific switch is not going to be as bright as, say, some other switches that are out there in terms of Hall effect switches. Now, the bottom housing itself. There is a little bit of lubing that goes into the rails on the sides, where the stems is going to be hitting the bottom housing. And it's a little bit, not too much, but in general, they do have some stock lubing that is done on the stem, which I will show you very soon. The spring itself, it's a 20 millimeter spring. So what does that mean? It's upgraded compared to previous like older Jade switches, but it still has a specific spring crunch that happens that Gateron switches have. And I'm not a big fan of that specific feel. Now, you can see here with the stock lubing. So we're going to look at the stock lubing, and you can really see that it's done pretty decently. You can even see the stem, like the pole of the stem actually also lubed as well. You do get a decent amount of lube on there, but it's not very even around the whole stem. And the biggest thing is, I would still recommend adding some extra lube on there, and even making sure that the spring is greased up or lubed, like the top of the spring and the bottom where it's connecting to the bottom housing, just to help with the spring crunch. If you do lube it decently enough, it should help a lot with that whole spring like scratch and crunch feel that you get, but you're still gonna have some, and specifically with like the Wooting 60V2 silicone. So you will really feel it a lot. Now in terms of the decibel test, because YouTube, obviously, I have to change decibels so you guys can hear it better. In terms of the decibel test, you can see here, it's not a very loud switch. We're looking at 60 decibels is where it's going to be averaging around mostly. You have some high points, some low points, but that just means that it's going to be around like a conversation level switch. So that's how loud it is. Now, in terms of the actuation feel and the switch itself, it's very, very light. So it's supposed to have a 36 gram initial force. And in general, the switch feels very, very light overall. Now, if you are someone who likes to rest their fingers on your keyboards, just know that it's going to get pressed down a little bit, and you might actuate a key if you have it at 0.1 millimeters. Top end wise, you have a little bit of rattling. Now, Gateron switches have that rattling top out sound. It's just something that they do have, but it's not too crazy rattling on this one. And then once you press it down, it really has very little stem wobble. Like, they did a great job on that. So you're looking at very, very little stem wobble with this specific switch, but just keep in mind it still has that top out rattle noise like all Gateron switches have, except for more the new ones. Now in terms of the brightness test, so we went down from like brightness full to 10%. So that was 10%, and then we're going to go to 50%, so you guys can see the difference of how bright it can be. And then we're going to go all the way up to tachyon mode on the Wooting, which is going to be at the 70%, 75% point, and you can see how bright it is. And then we go into 100. Now it's decently bright, but the switch is not super bright, and you can see that even the light gets changed. So keep in mind for those that like perfect lighting. Now this is the spreadsheet. I still need to upgrade it more, so I need to update it and do better things with this. But the anchor point that we're got is going to be around the 195 hertz. It's a decently stocky switch, so it does have a deep sound profile to it. It has a little bit of like a clack sound when it comes up, so keep in mind all switches have a wide variety of pitch sound, but you can access this spreadsheet on my Discord channel, which I'll have the links in the description for you guys to check out. Now, my personal thoughts in terms of the Milky Yellow HEs is that it doesn't feel like a very nice switch in the current market of HE switches. The reason being, it feels like a regular Jade, not even Jade Pro, a Jade that was redone with more of like a milky yellow sound profile and materials. It's not the greatest because stock wise you get a lot of scratch with the springs, just like the original Jades. And I think right now with where HE switches are going, and we've seen a lot of them, this is a little bit late to the current market. I think if this came out maybe a year ago, it would have been a little bit better. But in the current market, there's just so many different switches that are just a little bit better and a bit smoother. And this one's kind of lacking in that aspect. I'll have the links in the description if you guys want to go check it out for yourselves. But please check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.